right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the show. We have some exciting news off the top, just to jump right into it. We've officially changed our name, if you haven't noticed. We were formerly the 30-something podcast, but seeing that half of our staff is in their 20s, that was not a suitable name, right? So the new name is The Side Dish.
Yay!
Yay! We've been talking internally here at the podcast about how to structure these kinds of episodes, but really the driving idea behind this name change is that we want different guests or hosts to produce their own segments, these sort of mind morsels, if you will, and then just share them with the rest of us, and we can kind of groove on it together. That's really the idea, and we'll just see how this experiment goes. Anything that you guys want to say about I guess we should plug the Instagram?
Yes, of course. We just created an Instagram account, and it's @_
The Side Dish. It's so new. Celine doesn't know our Instagram.
@_ The Side Dish on
Dish.
Instagram.
But yeah, so we would really like to get more actual feedback from our listeners and engage with them. Because, I feel like our ultimate goal is we want people listening to these episodes to comment on their experiences and share kind of what they think about any of our topics.
Yeah, just comment away.
It just sounds so cheesy, but that's really what we want.
Yeah, and provide topics that maybe they want to hear us talk about.
Excellent.
Right.
Exactly. So we don't have to do the work because it's a lot of work.
I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about out there.
It's true. Speaking of, perfect segue. So the first inaugural produced episode for the Side Dish podcast is being done by none other than Celine.
Yes.
Celine, take it away.
This is
Take it
exciting.
away.
Celine.
Well, so actually we talked about, creating this episode because I just had something on my mind, and that is stress, and particularly stress related to work. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking about burnout, which is a word that we're so familiar with and we hear a lot. But what is it really? Is burnout just stress? Is burnout just being depressed at work? What is it? So I did some research. And this is just how I'm feeling now. Mm-hmm. And I have gone through iterations of this in the past and previous jobs as well. Mm-hmm. And so actually, I think it'd be a good idea to start with the definition of burnout, which is it's prolonged or chronic, unresolved job stress characterized by exhaustion, cynicism, and feelings of reduced professional ability. So prolonged or chronic, unresolved job stress.
Right. And it's funny because it seems like this term has regained popularity among millennials. There's a term that for
millennial
us.
Burnout.
Millennial burnout.
Exactly.
And how is millennial burnout? I'm just curious, how would it be different from the previous generations? What do you think?
Well, it just means that people our age are burning out. Right? I think that's just what it means.
like a bright shining star that burns out and collapses into a black hole.
Everyone aged 25 to 40 are feeling burnt out.
I'm trying to put myself in my father's shoes, maybe, right? So he's raising a family in the late 80s, early 90s. Obviously, there was economic stress in my household.
Right. And that's what it comes down to, economic stress, economic anxiety.
But do you think there's also a kind of professionalism aspect that has changed over time too because of, professionalism being so, you want to say that you work for a big respectable company and you want to have an impressive title.
I think there are probably certain characteristics that define millennial burnout, and it does have to do, one factor might be the type of jobs. Like there are a lot of tech job workers, for example, and they're experiencing burnout, even though arguably the working conditions are much better than, let's say, like during the industrial age or something like that, right?
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine being burnt out as like a 1910s child worker?
Coal mine, a child
I don't know,
coal
guys.
miner.
I miss just playing outside.
Right.
I feel really burned out by this job.
Well, the thing about burnout is it's applicable to everybody. Everybody feels burnout, right? And burnout isn't even necessarily just being stressed at work. It's chronic, unresolved job stress, where these things happen where you hate your job, then that means you begin to hate your life. And it leads to all these other
behavioral problems.
Changes.
And you lash out at your family, your friends.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think a big part of millennial burnout, quote unquote, millennial burnout, is that we identify with their jobs in a way that previous generations have never identified with their jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
So our job is our identity. We've all grown up that way. I feel like everyone in this room probably has been trained or conditioned to believe that to an extent. And whereas our parents, for example, their job was a job.
Right, and their families were the centers of, or their church group, or
Right.
whatever. These
Right.
primary relationships might have been
Or you
elsewhere.
get the
other than
job
the
that your
office.
dad made you do.
Yeah,
Or that your
Right.
dad did.
What
Yeah.
like I feel like when people before the millennial generation talk about like burnout or talk about millennials in general, they say we're spoiled and that we should just like suck it up and like, oh, in my day, I just had my job and I just did it. Do you think that there's truth in that we have more freedom to kind of worry about this kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, I think I read somewhere that, for example, home ownership is such a difficult thing for millennials, and that's something that also contributes to this.
It's
like,
actually impossible for most. Like most of us can just forget about it.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Millennials like are essentially incapable of owning homes in the current
And we're
housing
unable
market.
to hit that benchmark, right?
Right.
And so that feels inadequate, I
Right.
guess.
And I think we're probably going to touch on that later, but it's it's about, just having these goals in life and these milestones in life, but not being able to actually reach it. And you feel like you're in this constant rat race.
Right. And it's never going to get better.
Right. And it
hopeless.
feels, you feel hopeless.
Well, so that's kind of a bummer. Before we get there, I mean, Sells, why don't you kind of outline for us, are there like phases to this, or how do you know that you're feeling burned out?
Yes. So I actually, before I started doing research, I just thought that you're burned out and that's it.
You're done. You're burned.
You're done, or you're stressed and you want to, fall off the face of the earth, but fall off the face of society. But they're actually stages.
Flat earther over here.
There are actually stages of burnout and then symptoms for each stage, right? So like the first one would be the honeymoon phase where you get a new job and it's usually like, it's like falling in love or
dude,
having a
you
crush,
love it.
right?
Yeah.
You have high job satisfaction. You're super committed. You have boundless optimism and you have a lot of energy that you can sustain and keep up. And that's just because you're excited about something.
I kind of
right?
remember
and
that.
Also because it's new. That newness is a chemical.
I mean, that was a feeling I would have on the first day of school, like every day. Until I
September
graduated.
and August have a special place in my
I would
heart
always
still
be
because of
so
that.
psyched to get my
That's so
schedule,
true.
look at my classes, schedule my walking path.
And
So,
you're like, I'm going to be so organized this year.
exactly.
And like you lay out your entire
You have your new
agenda.
binder and your new pencils. Yeah. So
Yeah.
obviously, most things begin with the honeymoon phase. So what's the next step?
Yeah. And then the next step of that is the onset of stress. So maybe you're starting to begin feeling things like anxiety. Maybe you're focusing a little bit less. Maybe you're sleeping less, and that makes you, look rough. You have fatigue. Or maybe like irritable, and then small physical symptoms like headaches and things like that.
Well, it's funny because also I feel like the onset of stress is going to be different for everyone.
It is. That's true because everyone manifests stress in different ways. Like for me, for example, actually, no, that's a lie.
You were going to say something like, I don't get stressed ever.
I was going to say, I don't get physical symptoms of stress.
Because
I do.
I remember, I think a few months ago, Sells, you were, admittedly, I think you'd say this, you were kind of reclusive. And it sounded like you were going through a little bit of a funk. Obviously, COVID was not helping because, it was a very scary
and
time.
add COVID on top of all of this. Is,
but, there was like a good 3 or 4 weeks where you hardly came out. Yeah, 2 or 3 months even, right?
Yeah.
And I, was trying to be sensitive to that, but I kind of thought to myself, oh, Sells must be going through something like,
yeah, I was.
Yeah. Well, do you feel like that onset of stress, was that happening just at that 3 months ago mark around like last, October?
I don't know. So I feel like also the thing about burnout is like, and all this stuff is you can go through cycles of it as well. So I just feel like I've gone through many cycles of job satisfaction and dissatisfaction, and then also extreme stress, and then it's okay, manageable, and then it goes extreme again.
Right.
So for me, I think in general, like when I'm a recluse and I don't want to see people, that's normal. I go through phases like that.
Oh, I see. Okay. So that's not always work related necessarily.
No.
Okay.
No. However, I was going to say like this summer, I was going through maybe like, extreme, like the chronic stress for like 2 months straight where I was just having a bad time at work. And I like fainted. Do you remember
That's
that?
right.
Whoa.
Would you mind sharing with listeners kind of what happened there?
Yeah. So I was working just a lot. and my hours were, I think I was just not in a good physical place either because I was so stressed. I wasn't eating. I was eating maybe 1 meal a day, maybe 2 meals a day, and then just like working on overdrive and then not sleeping that much. And then one day I like had dinner plans with a friend, and so I went to eat dinner, and then that day I had only eaten breakfast, and I went to go eat tacos for dinner, and then before we started eating, I had a cocktail, right? And I remember thinking, this cocktail, like someone spiked it, someone did something to this cocktail.
Yeah.
It like I'd never drank anything like that before, but it just turns out there was a lot of alcohol in it, and I was exhausted.
And
I was
relatively empty stomach. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was exhausted. And then whatever, like finished dinner, went home, and then I texted my friend, that cocktail was so strong. Mm-hmm. And then I stood up and walked to the kitchen to get water and just passed out.
Yeah, like fell down face first.
I fell onto the corner of a glass table and cut my lip open on the inside and on the outside.
Oh my God.
And I had to go to the emergency room, and it was horrible. I'd never fainted before in my life, but that was the first like physical like thing that's ever happened to me because of chronic stress.
For sure.
And so I really believe that for me, everyone also has their different limits, right? And everyone manifests these
and it's almost
symptoms
like you weren't even acknowledging it, and then until your body literally said it out loud to you. Like,
exactly.
I can't handle this anymore.
Exactly. Because some people can handle a lot of stress. Now I know I don't want to try pushing myself. I know my limits, and I'm not interested in pushing myself. If I feel very stressed one day and I can't drink, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Like I can't do it because I will faint.
You know yourself very well.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
But yeah, everyone manifests these, stages and symptoms.
And you also, so you jumped from onset of stress and you started mentioning chronic stress, which is the third stage, right?
Yeah.
Leading up to burnout, which is, I guess like withdrawal, like tiredness, lack of hobbies.
Right.
And then I guess your burnout, would you say that falling down and getting injured was the actual burnout phase? Do you think you reached peak burnout at that point?
Yeah, so let's talk about the last stage. The last stage is burnout, which is you have like real behavioral changes. Maybe you're depressed. This is my favorite one, the desire to drop out of society.
Yes.
I can relate to that. I want to drop out of society every single week, I feel like. The desire to move away from work and even away from your friends and family. Cynicism and social isolation.
Well, obviously, because of COVID, you can't leave your family, right? You're still living at home, literally.
Yeah.
So imagine like you're feeling burnt out and you're having these crazy feelings of, let's just say like extreme hatred and anger and irritability.
Yep.
And then you're also cooped up 24/7 with your family.
Right.
Yeah, I can totally understand how that would just lead to. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember reading last year when the quarantine was starting to get serious, like domestic abuse cases in the Philippines had like
Everywhere.
quadrupled, but especially in Asia,
in
States, especially in Asia, it was even worse, or maybe like more embedded in the culture almost, like I don't know, but that was such a terrifying and real consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic.
So once again, everybody's different. For me personally, I don't anger and aggression is not one of my symptoms. I'm more depression.
It's funny because I think anger and aggression might be one of our symptoms of burnout.
Is anyone here?
I feel eyes on me. I do. I have been known to have some anger.
You've talked about this before on the pod.
I have.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've really shown it to you guys.
Yeah.
Not yet.
It's actually quite a surprise to hear that you do have that.
Yeah, we're all on edge every time you're here.
The side of Jay we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Chris apparently also, you mentioned, right?
Yeah, Chris can snap. Yeah.
Why, yes, I do.
Yeah.
And also, as a side note, I have seen Jay on the verge
while
anger.
golfing.
Oh, no. Just me being me. No. Yeah.
Oh, wait, Jay, you almost snapped at Chris?
No.
That's
I'm
golden.
totally kidding. But we did screen golf once, and Jay was... it was a new screen golfing experience. Jay got pretty upset that time. Everyone in the room was thinking like, just don't fuck with Jay for the next 2
Jay's
hours.
also, Jay, you're
okay.
competitive.
Wait, so keep going.
Yeah, I'm competitive. I'm a perfectionist. I like to be good at whatever I do. And if I'm not good at it, I get angry at myself. And,
but that's frustration. That's not the same as blowing up at, externalizing it to others, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
But you have blown up a few times.
I think that I have experienced a lot of burnout in my time, particularly with work, and I do have a problem with maybe taking it out on others and not, my work. So that's definitely something that I have become aware of, and something I forget, and I just need to continue to remind myself because it's the worst. It's so unhealthy.
Well, I'm reading a book right now about human nature, and I like the main theory of this book is that all of human nature, like we all have flaws, but actually all of those flaws can be channeled into strengths. Every single one.
Cool, I like that.
And so anger and aggression, you can channel that in maybe your work, right?
Just think of the Hulk.
Or Happy Gilmore.
Or Happy Gilmore, yeah. Win the PGA Tour.
The problem is we all don't know how to manage these, symptoms and feelings, and so
something just came to mind too.
them.
I'm a education consultant, so I review like college applications, grad school applications, and I just had a client who's applying to MBA programs right now, and she's a very empathetic and interpersonal kind of person, and reading her personal statements about like de-escalation, harmony at work, all these things, she really centered her application about these are the skills that she wants to introduce into the Korean workforce as like a young woman and like kind of revolutionize HR in Korea and think about it differently. It was a really compelling personal statement. And I'm almost positive she's going to get into the top 3. But it's funny that we're talking about this. It just occurred to me that other people are thinking about this in Korea too. This is a real thing. Yeah. Sue, how about you? You've worked at a lot of companies, and I've seen you get impatient with me. So have you ever had any workplace meltdowns?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've experienced a burnout in many different stages of my life. I think the earliest one was probably with piano, for example. I started playing piano when I was really young, like age 3, and I think at the time it was fun. The more competitive.
At 3, oh my god!
Wow,
yeah.
How does a 3-year-old even play the piano?
I don't know.
You were just a smart kid.
You tell me. I peaked when I was 4. So
oh my god! So 4,
high school,
17, middle school for Jay.
Yeah, but I think what's interesting about burnout to me is like I feel like I really experienced it again, like through different periods of my life, and
and Sue, you are in your mid-30s now, so you've worked a lot of different jobs at this point.
Right, I have, and I think by the time I got to the workplace, like I think I figured out a way of dealing with it a little bit differently than most other people, meaning because I went through this like early phase of my life of, getting burnt out and abandoning something that I really cared about had, essentially crafted this like skill over many years. And I was just so burnt out. I never wanted to like play piano again.
Right.
When I, was in college. So by the time I got to the workplace, I had this habit of being like, okay, if I feel the sort of symptoms of like chronic stress and, essentially just any of those types of emotions, I was quick to acknowledge it and actually move on because I felt that it was, just not good for my own mental
and that's such an impressive skill.
Well-being.
Honestly, that is a skill. There's no doubt. Like, a lot of people will doubt themselves, or wonder like, is it just me? Am I not equipped? But I think some of the best advice I got from my dad when I first had a job that was really stressful was like, there are like limits and you should know your limits.
Right.
Like at first I was like, Dad, I think everyone in Korea is stressed out at work and this is just a culture. And then at a certain point I was really starting to get bummed out and like lose hair and like it was affecting my health. And then that's when my dad basically said like, just quit. Like, who cares?
Damn.
Right.
That's really cool.
And also just like reminding yourself that there are other opportunities,
Exactly.
and trusting yourself that you will find a way out. I think that's really important.
I feel like that's a millennial kind of attitude of, not pushing yourself too hard. And if you're not happy with your job, moving from job to job, right?
Yes,
because
for
like,
sure.
so like all of my friends, save for a handful, just go from job to job. Like, don't stay for like a year or two.
That's true.
You know?
That is our generation.
Yeah.
And we're privileged in that sense, right? We have the luxury of being able to find another position. Like, I think back in the day, there were just less jobs, right? There was less supply and there was a huge demand for jobs. So the competition was fierce. But, with the creation of like exponential number of like potential positions with all these like big tech companies and stuff like that, there are absolutely more opportunities.
Would you guys like to just stay at say you found a job that you're generally pretty happy at, but you felt at times at this job, say you've been working there 3 years, and you've had 2 instances where it's almost like a breaking point you can feel mounting within you, but otherwise it's pretty peaceful, amicable, you get compensated well. Would you recommend someone who feels that way to stay with that job and kind of just learn to adapt to those highs and lows? Or would you say maybe, hey, try your hand at a different job? Because it's very rare to find a job that you find any joy in, let alone juggling or managing high and low feelings, which is, I think, kind of natural, right?
Yeah, I think high and low feelings are natural. And I think millennials, we try to run away from those types of feelings. And I think the thing about like always like moving around from job to job, it's funny that we are so accustomed to that and we're okay with that. But at the same time, we've been raised to believe that your job is your identity.
Yes.
And like if you're not doing the right job for you, the one that you love or the one that you are creating the most value out of, then you have failed essentially, right? And then add on top of that the pressures of raising a family, which is weird because millennials are not having children at the rates that our parents did.
Thank God we're not raising
we are
families.
overpopulated.
But don't you feel like we're kind of also the last generation that still feels like that's something we have to do?
We really need a Gen Zer in the room.
I don't think
to pick their
Gen Z
brains.
feels that way. I have Gen Z cousins, and they're thinking about totally different things.
Yeah, I actually 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, what's an example? What do you think what are they thinking about? I'm actually curious.
A lot of Gen Z kids are like really depressed.
Okay.
And they can't.
Are they also at the age where they're just going
It's
through
really
an emo
sad,
phase?
though. Possibly, but I feel like because I talk to my students sometimes, and a lot of my students are like,
Well, Celine
Like,
works with
they can't
high
even think
school
about the future.
students, and high school is just a different ballpark. But
I think so.
once you get to college, things kind of equalize, I think, and optimism is different, or like what to look forward to changes when you're in college, say versus high school.
Yeah.
One of my cousins, Catherine, who follows the podcast, so maybe she's listening. Shout out, Catherine. I got dinner with her and my uncle the other day, and she very openly was just like, I have no interest in really dating, no interest in like finding a boyfriend or like being booed up or getting married. And I totally respect that, and I can see that for her, she wants to create art. She's an artist. She loves illustration. She wants to be a manga design, like an illustrator for manga. So if anything,
It's
I'm
pronounced
detecting
manga.
Sorry,
I'm just kidding.
Oh shit, we just lost a follower. But no, just to sum it up, I'm detecting from her so much clear vision and like, motivation to accomplish
vision
her
and
goals.
motivation.
Like she's very
okay.
got her shit together, and I'm like really impressed by her.
I feel what I'm trying to say is I think millennials are still so traditional. We're so traditional, and we're stuck in these mindsets of tradition, I think.
But I guess just to maybe give up the perspective of the generation before us, my mom, for example, moved, like she was in 5 like different industries almost. Probably a lot to do with burnout or feeling like this wasn't the right job
like
for her.
A dead end job.
Right. But then years later, I still remember her telling me that the only thing that you can really build, because, like there's going to be smarter and dumber people. You can't do anything about that. But the one thing you can change is if you're doing the same job for 15 years, no matter how smart anyone else is, they won't be able to catch up to the 15 years until like 15 years later, And so I guess that's the biggest difference is while maybe millennials think more about or value more of the emotional side of it.
Yeah.
In the past, just the mindset was like, forget emotions. Like this is something you have to do. And it maybe would make it easier to do so without getting depressed or feeling symptoms of burnout as quickly.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I have options. I don't have to put up with this shit.
Yeah, it segues into like what I wanted to talk about next, which is I saw this quote that said, the modern millennial, for the most part, views adulthood as a series of actions as opposed to a state of being. So we're traditional in a lot of ways, but we're also the generation that's like trying to solve many modern problems, and we do see new ways of thinking and living that our parents didn't, but like we still think that life is like very goal driven and task oriented, and we want to be productive and we want to bring value to the table. So these are things that we view living as a series of like life goalposts and actions, and we want everything to be very productive, and like we want to be able to check things off our task list and feel good about it.
And that point that you bring up is actually, I also like did a little bit of reading on this too, is like I think comes from the way that we were raised. Like our generation was raised in this nuclear family state of economic, at the very least stability, if not prosperity, like under Clinton, if you grew up in America, for example. If you grew up in Korea, where we're recording from, post IMF, early 2000s was a great age of upward mobility for a lot of families. So these families would have they would treat child rearing, they would look at it through a prosperity index. So like, how do I maximize my time with my child and really like produce? So being raised under this, where every day was this lesson, that lesson, and this, very structured. Everything has an end, a purpose. You get the gold medal or get that piano certificate or get to that college. So of course it makes sense in this article I read, it makes perfect sense why millennials think this way. We were literally wired to think of a series of actions lead to accomplishments, which leads to identity.
Yep.
Right.
Do you guys feel like you identify with your jobs? My jobs are in quotes because
I do not identify with my job at all. In fact, I still have a problem with this. I don't like telling people what I do for work.
Why?
I'm kind of ashamed of it.
Oh, really?
It's like this. I think I've always been living in this like two worlds kind of thing where I don't like to mix them. Like, for example, in college I studied music, and I've always wanted to do like artistic things. And I didn't want to care about money, but living in San Francisco for many years, one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive city in the world, or in the US, working at a cafe and trying to make ends meet at a certain point fucking
not
sucks.
tenable.
And so at a certain point I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to find a quote unquote real job. And so got on Craigslist, and 8 years later, I'm still working at this job now. And going back to talking about my work is that I would just be ashamed to my music friends that I kind of sold out and went this path of like making money as opposed to like committing fully to creativity.
What do you think would be better, right? If like you're told your friends, hey, I'm a busker in San Francisco and I make, $80 a day on average.
So that's
versus your job.
That's the other side of it. So I, have my creative friends, and then I have my friends who are like, in tech, making like tons of money, super successful, at least financially. And to them, I'm like, I would be on the other side. I would be like, oh, I'm working at a cafe, but like I'm
pursuing my dreams,
And so once I got this job, I would be more comfortable with them and saying, oh, like I do IT consulting, like I feel pretty comfortable with myself in
because I feel like when you say that you're working IT consulting, that's kind of, people are generally like, cool, like that sounds cool to me. Because I felt the same way about that you did a long time ago when I first started working in education consulting. But now I realize that it's something that I'm just so naturally suited for.
How do you feel about, Aaron, job and identity?
So I just feel like my job, I've like worked it out this way, or maybe this is just like kismet, it's fate. But my personality is perfectly suited for the kind of work I do, which is talking to people, kind of understanding them, and then trying to help them articulate their stories in ways that are palatable and attractive, for jobs or university entrance. I'm just good at it. I'm good at detecting those things in people. So when I work, and I will complain from time to time, but I will not ever quit.
I feel like you never complain about work, which is
I mean, maybe Sue has a different perspective because there'll be times, but I'm
I've heard him
not.
complain
But I'm not
once
like
or
lashing
twice.
out at people because I'm stressed. I don't think I've ever done that, to be honest. But there are times where
Like
I'll
you don't
complain.
whine. You don't whine.
No, I actually feel a lot of fulfillment, kind of. But I think also I've like trained my brain to feel that way. You know,
Which is also like a way of coping
it's
with
kind
it,
of like
right?
what we were talking about with our parents' generation. Like they just saw this as like something that needs to be done.
Right.
And so for me, it's like I called it the economic imperative when I was younger. I wanted to like write essays about this because I've always felt an economic imperative since I graduated college, but never felt it growing up because my parents really kind of shielded me from those realities.
Right, yeah.
Growing up in like Palo Alto, California, I was just like, you know, I was surrounded by this and therefore like ignorant to what it was, which was privilege. And how do you make a privileged life for yourself? And then when I was older, I was like, oh shit, student loans. Like, yeah, do I want kids? I need to pay for their education. I need to buy a house. And this kind of circles back to a big cause of frustration among millennials and leading to burnout is economic stress. And that's all it really comes down to. But the same can be said of marital stress,
Or
relationship
not being
stress.
able to achieve your goals. Because I think the thing about like, you know how millennials were like obsessed with vacation. We think vacation.
I know,
is,
right?
like,
But then half of us are like working throughout the entire
Exactly,
vacation.
exactly.
But that's also like this badge of honor, being like,
It's like,
we've all
I'm-
been on trips with friends who are like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to just jump on this call. But they're kind of smug about it, you know?
There's a meme about that,
Yeah.
But we're obsessed with vacations, but the truth is like a vacation is not the fix, but we're all looking for the thing that will relieve us of that feeling of stress. And then we also all think that by like, if I achieve this goal, everything will be good, right? And I feel like those goals are still traditional markers of success. And then also things like having, like getting married, like having 2 kids, right? So
It's funny that you say getting married because
yeah,
I think we're at a point now, at least me and Sue, where it's like not just getting married, it's like having a successful marriage is a
Right,
different thing.
right.
And that's
That's
where
a
like
whole-
my
that's
friends,
a
that's
whole
where my
different
friends are
ballpark.
at. It's like,
Oh,
oh shit,
yeah,
are we
right.
going to last? Like, can
I
we succeed?
actually-
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I was actually listening to a really interesting podcast episode with this high net worth and celebrity divorce attorney. She's Kim Kardashian's
Oh yeah, I think I
attorney.
saw something about
Laura
her. On
Wasser.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, and they just talk about divorce and marriage the entire time. It's so interesting.
Did it make you want to get married and then get divorced?
Well, that's another episode. But so I think that as millennials, we have maybe different pressures put on us than our parents did. Is there one thing that you guys feel like is a unique pressure or something you worry about related to your career and goals in life that maybe your parents don't have or don't understand?
You know, I'll go first, I guess. I don't think my parents understand the pressure that I feel. A, because I don't talk to them about work stress, and also because I don't feel it that acutely, or at least I don't feel it to the point where I have to talk to them about it. But they are telling me to, hey, like, when are you gonna get married and have kids? When are
Okay.
you gonna do this? So they're very much trying to feed me that narrative that has led to my generation's, you know, downfall with anxiety, their struggles, these expectations. And I try to tell them very calmly, like, I'm in no financial position to get married at all.
Oh,
you
so
know?
you bring it back to money?
You know, it kind of. I'm just like, do you want me
Yeah.
to like struggle with my wife? And they say we want a grandkid, or your grandfather wants a great grandchild. And again, I'm not trying to like do this for pity points or anything. I just very literally say to their faces, it ain't gonna happen because a kid is like 50 G's a year, you know, like, and a fucking wife is 50 G's a year. Shit, you know, like.
Well, at least if you do have a family,
Wow.
you'll be able to save on college consulting.
I know, right? That's like the hack. But I don't know. I mean, how about you? How about you,
Yeah.
Sil?
Celine.
Pressures. I feel like for me, maybe it comes down to the feeling productive part. I feel like there's so much pressure to be productive, but like be productive in a very specific way where it's like you have to be productive in this thing that you really love. And then
Right.
also it has to change the world or it has to like create value, right? But I think, you know, because for me, when I think about my original goals and like what I wanted to do career-wise and stuff, it was never really to like create value in the world. So I think
what were your like childhood dreams or aspirations?
actually that's not true. Like I wanted to be a journalist, and I thought I got into it for like altruistic reasons.
Like you saw Aaron
right?
Brockovich, and then you
actually
were like,
I've never
"That's
seen that
me."
movie, but
okay, neither have I actually.
yeah. But I wanted to be like a zookeeper or like a vet, right?
Oh.
Yeah, just something
Or
like
I just wanted to be
yeah,
like
produces. Yeah,
Yeah,
You don't want to be
yeah.
a consumer your whole
Yeah,
life.
I wanted to be like a dog trainer, right? So, but I think more and more as I get older, I feel a pressure to like be happy.
You know, it's so funny. This is a totally different topic that we cover, but the pressure to feel happy. I mean, these are all related things. They're not just in a vacuum, right?
I'd rather be content than happy. I am happy, but there is a pressure to be there's a pressure to really build a life in which I am content.
Right.
And that's what I want now when I think about the future. Yeah.
Happiness is such a like nebulous thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Happiness is an emotion. Yeah,
know?
it's an
Yeah.
emotion.
I think I also read that like millennials have this problem of like, you know, really focusing on being happy.
Yes,
And it
yep.
actually has a negative impact on our quality of life.
This actually transitions perfectly to the last part of what I had planned was solutions to burnout or solutions to chronic stress. And one of those things that I found was, well, like as I was reading, it became apparent that you really can't fix burnout with vacation or with technology or with like new life hacks. Like I would even put stuff like meditation under that category. Like just because you start meditating, it doesn't mean that you're not going to
you know, just to argue devil's advocate, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who would take
for
issue
sure.
with that and say, no, meditation changed my life.
No,
Right.
totally. Yeah.
Okay.
But I really think it's
Yeah.
like the context in which you talk about
Right.
meditation,
Well,
right?
'cause,
It's
like,
about becoming self-aware and understanding. I think what's important is like knowing your boundaries, like what isn't enough for you and where is your breaking point. I think that's like you have to be aware.
Yes, that's true. And everyone is different. That's such a good point.
And I think meditation probably is in a sense a life hack because it allows you to be self-aware. And that awareness is going to, you know, add to your ability to like handle difficult situations or recognize and acknowledge things that are bothering you in your life, for example.
I mean, Sue's actually about to go on a little meditation retreat, so we're so excited to hear what that experience is like when she gets back.
I'm so looking forward to that.
Epic journey.
Yes.
Wait, so just to circle back real quick, Sue, I don't think we asked you about this, or we didn't get your response, but are there any sort of generational pressures that you feel from your parents about like fulfillment, success, work that maybe fed your... Because your career trajectory has been so impressive. You've worked at, we're not going to name names, but you've worked at a lot of really big resume-wise, like impressive-ass companies.
Right.
And so you've actually been one of those people who's collected 2 years here, 2 years there, and a lot of different experience. How much of that was coming up from, you know, your parents, from upstairs?
Actually, my parents didn't have a lot to do with like the career choices I made. I think what they wanted me was to park myself at one of the really good companies
Do it their way,
that I was at, right? And,
collect
and
equity,
be there for a while.
yeah.
stay there for 15
Totally.
years, and that
Right.
freaked the crap out of me. To be honest, I have commitment issues, so I think that's why you can like see every jump I make. It's like it's kind of like, okay, I feel stale here. I feel if I don't feel challenged enough, or if I don't see.
Oh, that's a huge thing.
know,
If you're not feeling challenged at your job,
Right.
or like you're learning new things, we haven't
Right.
even touched on that, but that could lead to burnout too. Just the frustration of doing the same
Boredom,
things every
tediousness,
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what was really important to me was finding value in what I do. And I tend to be a little bit more of an extreme person. So, you know, when I look for value, I think of like very specific things that make me happy or give me fulfillment. And if I feel like those things are not going to be met, whether it's, you know, because of the environment, like the people I'm with are just to me like very not diverse, you know, in their thinking, et cetera, then I decide to venture out. So, you know, those are the choices I've made. And I think a lot of the pressure that I got from my parents specifically was around, you know, no, this, you need to show commitment. That is something that's really important for, you know, people hiring you next.
Well, do you think,
for
do you agree
example.
with that at all? Or do you think that you're, you know, have you proven to them that the other way can also work?
Well, I think I have proven to them that the other way can work, but also I've come to Korea where, that is actually not the norm, right? So I've actually interviewed with a couple of really big tech companies here as well. And, one of the biggest sort of like questions that I got from the interviewers, was that you've jumped around a lot. And this is not actually something that's commonly seen in Korea. Right. So, what was your reasoning behind each move you made? And, I got pro at pretty much answering that question for
deflecting.
Yeah,
you got good at deflecting.
I mean, I think with tech companies, I'm like, it's different, right? They should be thinking differently. But I think culturally, Korea is still a little bit slow on the uptake in terms of people switching from job to job based on, their growth trajectory, et cetera.
It's a very American thing.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that was probably one of the biggest things. And of course, marriage has always been a thing in my 20s. But then, once I hit my 30s, I think my parents were like, oh, yeah, we get it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We can, we see how you are and how independent you are or in terms of the way you make decisions.
Yeah.
So obviously whatever we say is not going to fly.
Bringing it back though to Celine's sort of conclusion, you were talking about solutions to burnout.
Yes.
Right? And you're basically saying there are none.
I don't think there are any. I think it's systemic and economic. But for me, it's it's all up to us as individuals. We need to decide how we want to live, not what technologies will help me live better. You need to make that decision for yourself. And I mean, one of these questions I wanted to ask all of you guys was, it sounds like a question you would ask a second grader, but how do you
My favorite color is green.
Yeah. How do you guys find joy and meaning in your life? Or what brings you joy and meaning? And
as opposed to work or life overall?
Anything. This could be something that is just makes you joyful and something you like to do or like to see, right? Something totally unrelated to work that brings you joy or makes you feel like life is meaningful. And it could be so small or it could be something major.
I know my answer for sure. It's a random catch up with a friend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Spending time with loved ones.
And I think that Sue's similar to me in that way because she's always Skyping or video chatting someone in the States on most mornings, actually. I could say at least twice a week or at least once a week, maybe twice a week.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Maybe once a week I'll have someone reach out and we'll catch up real quick. Friendship is one of the most important things to me in life. Yeah.
That's
100%.
a great one. I think me too.
Yeah. I mean, mine's for sure 100% relational. And I think that's
really
why, because I never buy things or clothes or anything. I spend all my money on consumables to share with others, food, alcohol, which is a dumb investment.
I've never
dumber investment than a T-shirt.
Cards, your basketball rookie cards, with me, Chris.
Oh shit! Well, also wait, Chris,
that's a different friend you're thinking of. I don't know that guy. He's long gone.
I was kidding.
No.
Does Chris want to plug his card Instagram
follow
page?
Sharp Sports Cards on Instagram.
I never knew about this.
Full 146 followers.
That's enough, intern. That's enough, intern.
What is going on?
Okay, that's a lot.
That's enough.
But
what's happening?
Sue, what about you?
Sorry, what was the question?
What brings you joy and meaning in your life?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I love sharing good food with friends and also alcohol. I don't know why I whispered it.
You like alcohol?
Alcohol
It's
brings
so
you joy.
obvious, but I think spending time with loved ones is a good one. I think also in terms of things that get me motivated when I am feeling sort of in the dumps is actually doing some type of volunteering work. And I know most of us participated in a volunteering event.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Celine, that you were not able to join. But
Next time.
But I think things like that, I did notice that whenever I'm feeling really sort of down and out, I actually get a lot of energy from helping others, which sounds really cliche and
no, it's
strange, and I'm not even self-promoting because I
real.
don't
It's
even do it that
psychological.
often.
Also, I feel like you're killing two birds with one stone with that, because you are also spending time with like friends.
Right.
And you're doing this thing together.
Or maybe you're outside. Yeah.
But even on like an individual level, and I think the reason why I say that is because I think I don't do it often enough, and when I do it, I'm reminded of like how much impact it has on my mental well-being.
Right.
And I think a lot of that is like giving you perspective. Right. And it goes back to that awareness thing that we were talking about when you're burnt out, and or you know that there are sort of things that are weighing you down in life. I think having awareness of it and then trying to figure it out or work through it is probably the best way of handling it. It's not going to be the solution, but it's one way to sort of help yourself out of a funk, maybe to give yourself, more perspective or a new perspective. So things like that, I think, are, really helpful for me, because honestly, we live in a media world, right, where we're inundated by like all this information on social media, et cetera. And I think social media in general does give you this like FOMO effect, right? Or where you kind of compare your life to others' lives, and which is why like millennials are constantly sort of feeling this like depression, I want to say, from like feeling down or
you're not even really comparing your own life to other people's lives. It's like the life that other people are choosing to present. So obviously it'll be like the best version.
But it's a perception thing, right? So,
Oh my God, there's a psychological theory called the Denev comparison. And it basically stipulates that social media and the ease of access to which we have like voyeuristic angles into people's lives creates opportunities to compare beyond what anyone else has had before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which
I think it adds to the
that's a different episode entirely.
It is, but it adds, I think, to
so
the
much.
burnout. You know what I mean?
100%.
It plays on like two of the most base like human instincts or whatever, which is envy and
inclusion. I would say,
voyeurism.
Right? Oh,
envy and voyeurism.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So now we know what Celine's into.
So, Celine, I'm curious to hear about you.
Me?
Like burnout and solutions that you.
Yeah.
Like, how are you handling your burnout? I guess.
Probably finding like doing these things more that help me.
Right, but not meditation, because let it be on the record, Celine does not believe meditation works.
No, I don't. I actually am I'm not even being funny right now. I am a very meditative person naturally.
Okay.
I really am. Like, I know how to sit in a room and think.
By room, do you mean the bathroom?
Well, I think
I literally can sit on my bed and not
toilet
do anything.
And not do anything.
Literally not do anything. Like, I won't look at my phone. I won't watch TV. Like,
But aren't you thinking of something in those moments?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
that's meditation. It's
That's what I'm
just
saying.
Taking everything out of your brain.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
so good at that.
No, I'm not even being funny here now. Like, I totally understand where you're coming from.
That's why I spend so much time alone.
Why, Jay? Do you feel like your brain is always firing off like cylinders here and there?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you overthink things.
Are you anxious? Are you anxious?
Anxious,
Yeah.
overthinking.
But you and Cells have that in common, I think.
I used to have really bad anxiety, but I definitely don't have like anxiety disorder, because I know what that's like with my friends, and anxiety doesn't permeate my every thought.
Right. It's not like we are like, don't invite Celine to the podcast.
Like,
She's
like I
so
may
anxious.
Oh my God, that would be so sad.
Oh, wait, those are the thoughts that I have every day before coming to the podcast.
Right. That secretly no one wants you here.
It's not that much of a secret
it's not
anymore.
A secret, but I guess I'm just perceptive.
Which is a great quality.
Wait,
to
also,
have.
this is a great joke that Chris should have said, but in our outline, when we said solutions to workplace burnout, Chris's solution is
you just don't work.
just don't work, guys.
Chris's solution, just not work.
Oh,
My
damn.
strategy
We
is
have
to
so
just
much to
not
learn
work.
from the 26
Ultimate
year intern.
hack.
You guys
Ultimate
are
hack.
not thinking outside the box.
But actually, so kind of, going along with that, like one of the solutions to burnout and chronic stress is like do something where you're not working, right? Or find something you like where you're not working.
But make sure to never say the phrase, I've never worked a day in my life. That is so pretentious.
That's the goal.
Right, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
But I have never worked a day in my
in
life.
your life. All I have to say is lucky. But yeah.
That whole concept is bullshit to me because I mean, even if you are doing what you love, like at a certain point,
it's still work.
It becomes work.
It's still work.
Yeah.
If you're getting paid for it, it by definition becomes work. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think almost the being paid for it is what makes it unenjoyable.
Yeah.
You lose your intrinsic motivation.
No, well,
Yeah,
turns into
there
I
are
actually want to
studies
pick your
that
guys'
show
brains
that.
about this because, like, I believe that paying someone for their work, say, like, you solicit the help of a friend to help out with something. I think that incentivizing them and offering to pay is always the way to go because it is going to give them the perception of value, which is so important in any workplace dynamic. Like, value is so important. So anytime, if someone would approach me and be like, could you do this for free? I'd be like, yeah, sure. But I'd off the start be like, I'm not going to fucking give a shit about this. Like,
For sure.
versus if they're like, hey, I'll pay you. And I'm like, okay. And then later on, I'll be like, well, you're my friend, so I'll hook you up. It's like a psychological thing.
Or you accept the money and then you end up working like 7 times harder.
Yes,
Right,
because you want
should.
yes,
Or, that anyone ever asked you to.
exactly.
Right.
I think that's like the whole reason companies have bonuses, right? It's like it's not a guaranteed amount that you're going to get, but it's the harder you work, you're more likely to get a bigger bonus, right?
Right.
And that's really what I find.
As someone who hasn't worked.
And also going back to that, my biggest concern and the reason I feel I need to find a job is for the past 26 years of my life on airplanes, when I sign my customs form, I just check the student as my occupation.
And now
I
you're
haven't
26.
I haven't been on a flight since I graduated. I'm going to LA in 2 months, and I do not know what I'm going to check.
Just a student.
Yeah, just
I think you might be
Yeah.
a genius because I've never met a 0-year-old who could sign their own customs form.
So I actually peaked when I was 0 years old.
Anyways, all right, guys. Well, I mean, I feel like that, kind of concludes. Thank you so much, Celine, for that segment. That was such a great fucking
thank you so
segment.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we were going for. This is such a great inaugural episode for, this format because we learned, hopefully we learned something, but more importantly, we want to just create a dialogue where people can talk about these things. So with that said, I think we should conclude this episode going back to plugging our Instagram, which, Celine, what's our Instagram?
@_the side dish.
That's it. And so we're going to plug that one more time. And I kind of want to just close out the
So
episode.
we're gonna do it one more time.
_the side dish.
Side dish.
And I guess we should just go around and share what our favorite side dishes / panchans are. So for our listeners who are not Korean out there, panchan is the Korean side dish. It's like that stuff you get at Korean BBQ. You get like 12 little plates of, green stuff and red stuff and egg. Those are all called panchan, side dish that you eat with your main dish. I guess we'll start with, Jay. What's your favorite side dish, buddy?
I love banchan. I'm just going to choose one, 총각 kimchi.
So can you describe for our listeners?
Yeah, so I didn't know what the difference between 깍두기 and 총각 kimchi is. And so they're both radishes, and 총각 kimchi is like a particular type of radish, I believe. And the method of fermentation is just like regular kimchi, but they just use a different type of radish,
Right,
I believe.
right.
And, I love it.
Okay, for sure. How about you, Cells?
Me, I think lately, I really love the way Japanese people preserve vegetables, like how they pickle things. Like it's called tsukemono. And my mom has been making cabbage tsukemono, Japanese style.
So basically, it's just Japanese kimchi. Wow.
No, it's not kimchi. It's not.
Traitor.
No, guys. You guys are so old-fashioned.
Sorry, I'm kidding.
No,
Andrew's
it's
gonna
not
get
kimchi
mad.
at all. It's not kimchi at all.
Okay,
In
okay.
fact, it's so bland. So, but I like bland food.
Okay.
hey, bland food, I will support bland food. Like,
So mine's a little more specific, but when I'm at an Italian restaurant, my favorite side dish is pickles and jalapenos. It's just the most Bobby thing ever. I'm
No, are you
so
kidding?
sorry to anyone who doesn't.
Well, could you clarify for listeners what's going on?
So basically in Korea, because of our whole, how big banchan culture is, and how much kimchi or pickled food we eat, pretty much every meal requires some sort of pickled food to act
Like cut the fat or the grease. Yeah.
So then at Italian restaurants, the fanciest places with the nicest pasta, if you ask for a bowl of jalapenos and pickles, they will have the exact same jalapenos and pickles at every Italian restaurant in Korea.
Yeah.
no, Chris, I can relate. I can't eat Italian food without that.
For sure. Yeah. Well,
That's why I can't go to
I know
Italy.
for sure that me and maybe a guest friend who's been featured on this podcast many, many times, his favorite, well, I'll just say his name, is Andrew Lim,
Wait,
who's
what?
been on this podcast many times. His favorite panchan is gendnip, which is actually my favorite panchan.
Ooh, I actually hate gendip.
Oh, dude, you
I don't
hate
like
Oh, I
gendip.
love gendip.
Well, you like bland food, so of course you'd hate gendip. Gendip is the most flavorful fucking panchan on the planet, dude. It's like yeonnanjot and gendip.
I just
Yeah.
had Myeongnam today.
Wait,
Dude, that's
no.
like the shit.
We're not going to
Yeah.
characterize me as somebody who only eats bland.
It's done.
It's done.
It's in the lore.
That's your
of the
new
podcast.
ID now.
Wait,
And then finally, Nuna, Sue, what's your favorite panchan or side dish?
I was gonna originally say straight up Napa kimchi, the OG kind, but it's not revolutionary. So I'm
Okay.
gonna go with keranjim.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah.
Yes.
Yep. A
Yeah.
great bland side dish.
I love eggs and I love things that are steamed.
Don't be ashamed of loving the kimchi though.
No.
Like just
Oh, there's no shame.
Plain old
Yeah.
kimchi.
Well, I was gonna say,
I eat it like a salad.
that was such so informative. I hope everyone just ends up their asses and subscribes and likes everything on our podcast.
Wait,
You heard me. Wait, let me say it one more time.
Wait, first of all,
I didn't
did you
catch
say get? Like the
Get-
pun was get on up our asses?
Oh, get on!
Get on up your ass.
Get on up
Because
your
we were
asses.
both thinking of puns for that, and that's
Get
not
on.
the direction.
What was your pun?
Very just like get on the next episode. I don't know, something.
Well,
not
I
up
guess
our
we also
asses.
hope that you get on the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's okay. So this is not off the cuff. You guys have prepared for
No,
this
this is
one.
totally off the dome, and we're just trying to
Off
conclude
the
this
dome?
episode. All right, guys. Well, anyway, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Side Dish. Once again, we are at _ The Side Dish, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.